Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP new build for Amon in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 for True Mode and against Bloomreaper the Invincible here, the new raid boss that just got released today. And I've fought Bloomreaper about 40 times now, or 40 wins. This is one of the best builds for Amon. Now, unfortunately, we do have to deal with these crystals here at the start. It is a big component of this, but the best part about this is we're going to keep infinite ordinances here, as well as keep our shield full. So we're basically invincible. We can face tank this boss and go through all the phases of it pretty easily. Now, the best part about this is you can be very tanky because of the scourge skill tree, so the blue skill tree as well. Whenever you're facing off against this boss, you got to watch out for these little crystals that do pop out, but now, the way we want to play this is by setting up our forge wall, which is going to boost the amount of damage that we deal with our ordnance here. And with the specific skill tree setup, we're actually able to get infinite amounts of ordnance. And you don't even really have to aim this down because it's going to home in if we're using a specific weapon here. Now, we get infinite amounts of ordnance. The thing is, this boss has a ton of health, and it's not like we can use Toric Stickies as well as some of the other characters, which is typically the best way to play this. So, yeah, you're basically just going to spam this, and it's going to have infinite amounts of rounds. This will also keep your ordnance high. The problem is you do have to watch out for Bloomreaper to teleport around, and you do have to be a little bit mobile with this, but overall, this is going to be the strongest setup to take down Bloomreaper. We also have weapons like the Disc Jockey here, which are great because they're going to chain around to take out multiple enemies at a time for this annoying phase whenever he disappears, but this will allow you to keep your ordnance up because you just bounce him off the ground. And yeah, basically with this boss, we just want to be spamming our heavy ordnance at it and trying to get those hits off to whatever possible. The bot is also a great weapon. We got to be floating around looking for these green areas. So yeah, if you can get up and be able to pop this off, it kind of works like a Jacobs where they're going to chain around here, with the bot being the other weapon that we want to use for a bit of extra damage because the bot is honestly the best weapon in the game. And yeah, the Atlan gun is probably my favorite just because this phase alone is so annoying where you can't even see Bloomreaper, where you're just going to literally see the text where it says critical hits from. So yeah, and you can just spray and pray with this to be able to take him out there, and this will keep your shields up full. Now, Bloomreaper is quite a challenging fight. Unfortunately, Amon, I think, has the hardest time. We just got the kill there. And yeah, that was in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 too, so we'll see. Do I get any of the good loot? No, probably not. How this build works is the Tail of the Comet gives us a status that we can apply to the enemy, and Primal Surge, whenever we apply a status to an enemy, we get a chance to restore our shield and ammo. This works very well together because there's actually some enhancements that are going to boost this up even further, but this stacks statuses unlike any other combo in the game. Then speccing into the red skill tree lets us take Berserk, and there is only red. This is unfortunately just the best way to go about building Amon, and there's only red actually procs pretty frequently in this boss fight in particular. Alright, so the build will be starting with the blue skill tree here, Scourge Kairos being the best skill that we want because we need any boost we can get to ordnance damage. Got a couple points from the skill tree here. Now, Cryonic Thrum is really nice. Whenever our Scourge is active, we're going to be putting out cryo ordnance damage in an area of effect, which can restore our teammates' health if we're playing with people. This is just the augment that we'll end up using for most of this because it just ends up being the best. We're obviously going to be taking the Tail of the Comet, as I mentioned earlier. It's a huge component of this build. Whenever we deal ordnance damage, we have a chance to apply a status, which is going to be able to set up a lot of other things later on. Now, at this point, the Machinist here can give you ordnance cooldown whenever you get kills, which is nice. I actually think that this is a little bit better. The Battleborn, because gun damage actually applies to heavy ordnances, and if we use a skill tree, it'll actually apply 1.5 times to our skill tree damage, which is crazy. So gun damage, which is 40% whenever we're full, that ends up being 60% extra damage on our heavy ordnance. Very nice. Now, once we get down here, you can actually, if you want to swap off the Cryonic Thrum for Eternal Winter, you can spam your Scourge skill tree, although the damage from this is not good outside of like just mobbing, but it makes you kind of tanky. We do want to go down in this skill tree here though, because we want to get to our Primal Surge. Now, Icy Rage is great for kill skill. We get increased gun damage per stack, and this can stack up to 5 times. Again, this is going to apply 1.5 times to our heavy ordnance, which is amazing. This takes us down to Primal Surge, which is a very core component of this build. Whenever we apply a status effect, there's a 25% chance that we get 15% of our shield and 30% of our ammo restored. That's how you're able to tank a lot of hits with this build because you're constantly getting shield restoration and also ammo regeneration too. And also, after level 25, it's best to go into our red skill tree. Now, I really like the heavy plate here because we need a bit of extra shield capacity to be able to get our shield back while using the other skills here. This just gives us some survivability. There are other choices here. I don't think that they work very well on this build. We're then going to take 1 point into Gut Punch, which whenever we deal ordnance damage, we can apply a weakness to the enemy for 8 seconds, where they deal 40% less damage. We take, and they take 20% more. And then I'd recommend putting 4 points into Wield of Storm because you get increased status effect damage and duration. Since we're doing a lot of statuses, we may as well increase their damage and duration, which is great. And that actually takes us to a very good skill point here with Bullet Storm. Whenever Amon applies a status effect, he gets a gun damage increase. which is 7.5 times per stack, 5 stacks. So yeah, we apply stasis fast, meaning we get bullet storm really quickly. Now you could put a point into Bloodlust, but I honestly think it's better to go with Berserk here. Basically, we get a bonus crowd damage whenever we use our Forge skill, which is the Firewall. And whenever we use that, we go into Berserk. So we gain slow immunity, bonus crowd damage with gun, and melee damage, which is going to get stacked up even further when we take There Is Only Red. Whenever we get a kill, we increase Berserk's duration by 4 seconds. It normally has 15-second duration. Every kill will increase by 4. It used to be 9. They actually nerfed this really heavily. And whenever this is active, we actually get 60% bonus crowd damage per kill. So we can stack up a ton of extra damage. It goes up to a maximum of 600. And I would recommend putting all of your points into this. And the final point of our skill tree is actually going to go into Blackout. I should have taken this a little bit earlier. Ordnance damage now has a chance to critically hit. We want that. And critical hits from Ordnance damage will apply shock damage, which is great. And I talked about the Cryonic Thrum. Great for if you're playing with multiple players. If you're playing solo, Eternal Winter lets you use your Forge skills. So whenever you're shield up, you can keep spamming those. It's pretty fun. We're not going to use the Glacial Rapture. It's an okay capstone. The reason we don't want to use it is it's going to increase the cooldown time, but we want to have our cooldown as short as possible because we can use Berserk more frequently the more we get our Forge skill back. And what's actually funny enough is Firewall is better because it's going to increase our projectile damage by 25% and speed by 50%. So our Heavy Ordnance gets a boosted damage from this. It doesn't get those boosts from any of the other skill tree capstones. Now, still the best best class mod for this would probably be the Cyborg. This one I got with damage dealt, Ordnance damage, and Ordnance critical hit chance, and gadgets ahoy. Ideally, you'd get 3 gadgets ahoy and then maybe 2 high caliber because like gun damage and projectile speed actually works properly now, meaning our rockets can shoot a little bit quicker. But this comes with very important roles. 2 points in the Scorched Kairos is nice for the extra Ordnance damage, and then 2 points in the Ballistic Bulwark. This is actually really good because you gain overshield when he deals Ordnance damage. So this is how you can basically just spam the Heavy Ordnance and stay alive and face tank bosses because we get our overshield and health back from this, which is really useful. I also got a couple points into the Endless Bombardment here, which Heavy Ordnance have a chance to refund 1 ammo on damaging enemies, 18% chance. That's just a nice thing from this class mod. If you want to use a normal class mod, I would recommend going with the Forge Master here because this gives you another Forge skill so you can get Berserk back even quicker because it can use it once per cooldown. There's other class mods that work. I did a video on the top 5 class mods, but honestly, the purple one is his best. You could also roll with the Grenadier and another type of the Cyborg, but this is just my favorite roll for it. Now, previously, there actually was a big nerf today to Super Soldier, which used to actually give you that 1 ammo per second regeneration on our Ordnance. It no longer does that, unfortunately. So the best shield would be the Watts for Dinner, adding a 25% shock damage when we have Overshield. And with our class mod generating our Overshield constantly, we got that 25% shock damage all the time. This also has Amp, which will give us an increased damage too, which is nice. I personally like the Watch for Dinner. It's a great one. Now, I also like the Hero Bullet. This one is really good, especially if you can get it with the Vladov. I have a better one. This one gives a 30% chance to fire an extra projectile. I have a better one on Rafa, but this is nice because Vladov is the Atlan gun. This also comes with gun damage, 25% boost, and fire rate increase too, which it does apply to our other abilities here. This is just a really good choice. But you could also use a Jacob's License bounce pass if you want to use a ricochet build. I just don't find it to be that effective against the Bloomreaper boss, whereas things like the Atlan gun are some of the best weapons. I unfortunately lost a bunch of weapons after this update. I'm not sure what happened, but I lost a lot of my purples that were in my inventory, so I'm not too sure. I'll have to go farm them again. I wish I could show you some of my favorite weapons, like honey bunches. I have no idea where they went. Unfortunately, this happened on a few of my characters where they lost a bunch of their loot. I'm not sure what happened with the update, but you could use, there's the honey bunches, there's a few other purples, I can't remember the names of them. I also like the disc jockey. The streamer is a good heavy ordnance. Ravenfire is nice for mobbing. The Uka is a pretty good one too. I'm not sure why this purple stayed and all my others are gone. In the Atlan gun, just my personal preference. Bloomreaper's weak to fire, so that'd be a good one to go with, but I just like this flat out high damage one. And triple bypass with increase of splash damage is nice. Or you could go with the one that's going to give you lifesteal. This is pretty useful too for survivability. Now for weapons, I like the bod. Honestly, Torque Stickies are still going to be some of the best damage in the game. They did nerf it with this patch, so that's great. If you're mobbing, the new Rowdy Rider from the DLC boss, or the free DLC boss, is really fun. Not the best weapon, but it's a good one on Amon. I find it enjoyable. The Mantra, we actually just got this from Bloomreaper. It took 40 drops to get, but it's available. I will be using this for a future build. I think the red skill tree really benefits this because it does melee damage. Just want to mention this here. It's not really for this build, but it's a cool one. Wombo Combo is almost an essential weapon for vile enemies, which this boss has. The Chaosin with the Torque Stickies is nice as well. I personally enjoy this one here as well. 7 Cents, a good pistol. The TK's Wave is also quite effective. And Rainbow Vomit. Now, our specializations are a little tricky because I like the best defense, giving ourselves 30% extra damage dealt. We also have the Riddle You This, which gives us 50 stacks, which gives us 50% increased gun damage, which again is going to apply whenever we take something like Full Spectrum Arsenal. Ordnance damage now benefits from increases to gun damage, so we get 50% of those gun damage increases, and heavy ordnances already get 100% of your gun damage buff. So if you have something that gives you 200% gun damage, it's now going to give you 300%. So that's pretty good because it's going to take half of it and add it back on top. We also have the fragmented payload there, giving us further increased critical hit damage. So our ordnances are hitting really hard. If you got someone with a critical hit knife, you can set us up to do crazy damage. And yeah, this all synergizes very well together. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. This build is heavily on just firing away with your heavy ordnance as much as possible, because every time you get a hit, it's going to extend the time that you got it. But yeah, you pretty much just want to put your forge wall down there and then just get to firing. Be careful that vile enemies will actually take you out of your ordnance because it doesn't actually register as hitting an enemy, so this can't apply a status. So that is one of the big counters here, but that's exactly why we have multiple weapons that are meant to be able to counter that, with the Wombo combo and the bod being able to just destroy them. The rockets from the Wombo combo making this a little bit easier. This does help with Bloomreaper, but I did find that his rockets are actually pretty easy to destroy with the ordnances. So yeah, that is the most overpowered Amon build for Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 in defeating Bloomreaper the Invincible. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave a comment below. I hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll see you all in the next one.